All right, so again, this will be the test review for Chapter 2. I don't remember when we said we'll take the test, but it won't be Monday. All right. And it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't remember what. But remember, next week you'll have both that test on Chapter 2, the written one, and your first hands-on. You're going to find the hands-on almost unbelievably easy compared to the stuff we'll do today. Okay, so if you understand what we do today, you should have no problems with that first test. All right, so a Boolean variable can only have two values, true or false. Pretty simple. Number 2, what's a comparison operator and what's a logical operator? The comparisons are these. You compare one value to another, so it's equal, not equal, less than, greater than, etc. The logical are the and, the or, and the not. Okay. And if you forget that on the test, you should at least remember, compare. You're comparing two things to one another. All right, that's the key thing. And again, the good news is every one of those comparison operators that you see on the screen there, every one of those logical operators, it's done the same way in JavaScript, in C#, and in Java. All right, so it's done the exact same way. Double ampersand for and, double pipe sign for or, exclamation point for not, greater than, less than, etc. There are still two other ones in here. There's the triple equals and the exclamation point equal. The strict equality and strict inequality operators. If you want, what I can do is I can email you electronic copies of this. So if you'd rather key this stuff in, I don't care. All right, I can do that. In fact, I think I've got all of them done already. I can just, email them all to you. I'll do that today. So yeah, why don't you just email us the ones with the answers? I'm not supposed to do that. Okay, that'd make it a lot easier, but no, I'm not supposed to do that. All right, number 3, what can you use to override arithmetic associativity? Parentheses, that's it. Pretty simple answer, parentheses. Number 4, this is what we went over today, most of today. A function, related group of statements treated as a single unit. A variable, what is a variable used in a function known as? It's a parameter. And what's the return statement? It returns a value. I'm going to ask you a question. Here's a hint. How many things can you return from a function? 0 or 1? What you'll find out is that one thing can be pretty big, but only one. So you don't need a return statement if you're not returning anything. You only need a return statement if you are returning something. Everybody has 1, 2, 3, and 4? Everybody has 1, 2, and 3. Now does everybody have 1, 2, 3, and 4? Number 5, a little longer, but there it is. Global variable is outside. Variables declared outside of the function. Local are declared inside of the function. And arguments are what you put in the parentheses. Just keep it simple. Okay? All right. Number 6, primitive data type can only be assigned a single value. What we'll learn about later, actually a little bit in Chapter 3, is we'll look at an advanced data type that's called an array, and there's other types also that you can use. I was gonna go and stop over in the office and bring it back just to show you, because believe it or not, for lunch I made myself a pepperoni sandwich. Pepperoni and cheese. That's what you do, is you give a guy who's living by himself like 10 pounds of pepperoni. Especially when he's decided he's gonna start dieting. That's a real good thing to do. All right. Number 7. We went through this. It was at the top of and bottom of pages in there, but the strongly typed versus the loosely typed, and again, JavaScript is loosely typed. JavaScript, you say var. You don't say int or float or double or string or boolean. You will do that in every other language that you learn, unless we do have a PHP class.
Other than JavaScript and PHP, are those the only two?
Well, they're the only two that I know of. Are there other ones? I'm sure there are, because there's all sorts of different dialects of a lot of these languages. At one time, there were actually 700 some documented programming languages. but it got to be so bad that it shrunk to about 200, and I don't know exactly what it is right now. Because typically what people do now is they take a language like jQuery isn't really a language, it's JavaScript, it's a library. And that's what people are usually doing, is they're adding onto an existing language, so. But they're the only two I know of. This one? It means you are not required to declare variable types. That's why JavaScript, you use var, which, again, in JavaScript, if you look up on the screen here, this is totally legal in JavaScript. I can say var age equal 21. Then in the very next line, I can say age equal true. And then the line after that, I can say age equal Jeff. I can do that. That's legal. If I try to do that in like Java, not JavaScript, if I go int age equal 21, as soon as I try doing this, the program literally blows up right there. That will make it blow up.
After everyone.
No, only once. Just like you only put var in there once. Only when you're declaring it. When we get done with this, we're going to look, like I said, we're going to write a couple small programs, and I've already given you the shells for those. I will tell you, the biggest problem that I have doing this is, my wife put this very well. She said, just so you know, there's already one too many Jeff Scotts in the world. And I don't want to make you clones of me. I have certain ways I do things that are quirky. But if you decide, putting where you put curly braces, etc., you don't like it that way, you should do what makes sense to you. All right? Again, program right now for understandability on your part. Whatever way is the easiest for you to understand it. But what I would say is, if you can do it this way or this way or this way, pick one of those ways and stick with it. Don't do, I'll do it this way, now I'll do some this way. Then you're going to confuse yourself. All right, number 8, what is an empty string? It's a zero-length string. So again, if I come in here and do this, if I say var name equals, and either double quote, or var name equals single quote, those are empty strings. You can't have a space here. Did you hear that? If you put a space, it's not empty anymore. There's a space in it, so there can't be, it's got to be quote mark, or double quote mark, with no spaces in between them. All right. All right, number 9. Oh, that isn't good. Boy, oh boy. Hold on just a sec. I'll do it after class, that's fine. All right. Number 9, what's an escape character? Remember, it's that \n is the one I told you about. So it's a / followed by another character, which means it has a special meaning. All right, number 10, what does the triple equals do? Again, it's the strict equals operator, equal and same data type. And I didn't put this in there. I don't think it's asked on the test, but you should know. So what does this do? And I can just copy this and say it's the strict inequality operator. I don't think that second one's on there, though. Okay, hopefully everybody has that. I am going to very quickly try to fix the problem I just had with that thing not working. So I got to come in here. You never know. Darn it. Hopefully that works. What's modulo? It's the remainder operator, or remainder what is left. So when we say remainder left, I don't mean like left-handed versus right-handed. All right? I mean the remainder remaining operator. That just sounds kind of stupid. But I do think that's how the author puts it, I believe, in the book, is remainder left. Which is kind of dumb, because the remainder is what's left. Number 12, what's the ternary operator? It's also called the question mark colon operator. If true, you do what comes after the question mark. If false, you do what comes after the colon. Number 13, the order of precedence. Again, parentheses is on the top, then multiplication, division, modulo, then addition and subtraction. It's the order in which you do mathematical operations. Number 14, what are those things? They're curly braces, they're delimiters, they hold a function or other blocks of code. The last one I'll leave up there for a couple minutes because it's got all those terms, it's all the terminology stuff. So. All right. So that's all of them. I don't know if can we fit them all on at once. I don't know. Well, all of them except part 1. It looks like. If you can you all read that okay? Because that's all of them. I guess the other thing I can do is I can cut the size down a little bit. So. Jeez. Forget it. I'll go until 11. So after we get done with this, you know, when you're all finished, you can bring up, make sure you've got that calc folder and open up from the calc folder. There'll be 2 folders inside of there, which I don't know, they're called like calculator 1 and calculator 2 or something like that. Go into the calculator 1 folder and open up the index.html file, please. That's what we're going to play with in just a minute. Again, I'll leave it up there for about 2 more minutes. That's not good. A couple of you are still writing, so I'm taking for granted the rest of you have opened up that calc folder, found the calculator 1 folder inside of it, and open up the index.html file inside of there, so bang, we can start going. I'd like to finish this first program by 11. I'll give you one more break. And sorry, I know they always tell me don't talk to them for 4 hours, but when you're just learning this is, I think it's important that we do all this stuff together. Does everybody have them all now? Yes? Anybody need anything else repeated or shown any earlier one?
Can you go back to 11?
11, yes sir. I was gonna say no just to see how you reacted, but. Okay, anything else? All right. Save that. Okay, so this is what you should have right now, a Chapter 1 and a Chapter 2. And I just want to show you these quickly. They're, other than the index file, they're mirror images of one another. But notice I put a CSS folder in here. It's got a styles.css, which basically has, I think you'd agree, nothing in it. There's no style being applied, but we will add on to that later, all right? And it also has that modernizer thing that the book has had. I just put that in there. All right, so what you have, what I wanted you to open up is the index.html file. I tried to make this kind of look like what you're working on from the book. All right, so I've got it here. And if you want to put your name and the date in here, that's up to you. You're not turning any of this stuff in. But there's a comment at the top that says this is the first in a series of calculators that we're going to build. In the first example, there'll only be a main. You enter 2 numbers. And regardless of what you want to choose, you know, add, subtract, multiply, no, it's like you can only add, regardless of what you choose. All right? So this is what's in there right now. So if I ran the program, as you'd probably guess, and I click the button, that's your interface. This is going to be your interface for the first 2 or 3 of these. So all it does is it does the alert. Does that make sense to everybody? All right? And if we look in here, this is where we're going to add codes. I'm just going to, you don't have to hit enter, but I am just to move this up. All right, I'm just going to comment that out and start putting in code. So the first thing I want to do is, let's put some comments in here. So declare and initialize the local variables. And I'm asking this question, why are these local variables? Because they're inside of a what? Function. So they're local. If I had declared them after the script statement but before the function statement, they'd be global. But since they're in here, they're local. Even though there's only one function, they're local anyway. We're going to have 3 variables. Num1, which I'm going to set equal to 0. Put another little comment here that says first number to be input by user. Num2 is going to be equal to 0. Second number to be input by user. And the third one will just be, we'll call it sum, because that's what it's going to be. And that'll be the sum of num1 plus num2. Oops. Bless you. Am I right in assuming that that makes sense to everyone? Does everybody understand what those 3 variables are and what they're doing? Because literally, in this program example, there's like 5 more lines of code and we're done. That's it. So those are our 3 local variables. All right. Now I'm going to say here num1 equals parse int prompt. Oops, sorry. Parse int prompt. Please enter number 1. And I'll just give it a default value. We don't have to do this, but I'm going to anyway. I'm going to say if I wanted to be lazy when I ran the program, so I'll just put 100 in there. And for the second one, I just put 10. I don't know why, I just threw numbers in there. We could put a comment here that said input numbers. I guess that would be probably, if we wanted to. Input the 2 numbers. Calculate the sum. That's what I want. Output both inputs and the calculated sum. Again, this is one of those kind of ugly things in here, so plus 2 plus sum. That's the whole first program. I don't think there's any mistakes in there. We're going to find out in just a minute. I don't know. I've never tried to run a program in brackets with JavaScript in it like that. It should work. I don't think there'd be any problem with it. But I'm just going to run this. I'm going to choose run and then run it in Chrome. I'll tell you what. I'll come right back to it, but let's run it, make sure it works okay. All right, so run Chrome, calculate. There's my first number, 100. There's my second number, 10. 100 plus 10 equals 110. Make sense? All right. It's probably, I wouldn't take this home, put your name on it, put it on the internet, and try to sell it as a calculator. It doesn't really do very much. Plus, if I put in something non-numeric, it's going to break. What we want to get to eventually is does this make sense to everyone? We want to build an interface. We want it to look, I'm not saying it's going to look exactly like this one, but we want it to look more like this. Now, we're not going to have time in here to do square roots and variants and all, no. All right, I mean, if you wanted, you could add that kind of stuff in there and after a while program your own functionality in. But we are going to create something. There's a bunch of them that are out there on the system already, that I might go find one, I might write my own, I don't know. Typically when I write my own, then I go out and find one that looks a hell of a lot nicer than mine. Then I feel bad, so I just end up using that one anyway. Is there anything that's in here that doesn't make sense? I try to put a comment in so you can see what's happening. Again, local, because they're in a function. You don't even need that alert anymore. Our 3 variables, the first number we're reading in, the second number we're reading in, the addition of those 2 numbers. Read in the numbers. Remember, this part right here, this, prompt, that's what does the please enter, the number 1 with 100. This says convert that number into an integer, parse int. If I put something, if I leave it blank or if I put hello in there, I'm going to get NaN back. Does that make sense to everybody? Because those are not a number. So I do that for number 1, number 2. I add the 2 together and I do an alert. So again, if I come in here, right here, if I end up leaving those numbers, so I've got 100 right there, and I leave that number, so I've got a 10 right there, then it should say num1, which is 100, and then a space and a plus sign, and a space, and num2, which has got 10 in it, and then a space, and an equal sign, and a space, all right, I should get the sum, if I can add. All right, that's all it does. Question?
Saying my sum is 0.
It's saying your sum is 0. You have that line in there. Because otherwise, that is what we gave it. So one of the reasons that, I'll take your question in a second, but one of the reasons I always initialize variables is, let's say, because that's a good point. Let's say with Tiffany, let's say that she just put var sum in there. If that ever happens and it comes up and it says undefined, you know that you've got a variable that you didn't initialize. That makes sense? Question?
Why do you need the spaces?
In here? Oh, I just because I wanted it to, hear you me? I just wanted it to be look a little for aesthetic reasons. You don't have to do that.
As it appears in the alert, I mean,
Yeah, in the alert, this said put in a number, then a space, then a plus sign, then a space, then the second number and a space, then the equal sign, then a space, then the sum. So just for aesthetic reasons. I could have run them all together.
odds all run together anyways.
Then you probably didn't add spaces here
Okay.
and here. All right?
You need those both sides outside of the quote? Like, could you just put num, 1,
Yes,
and then...
these are concatenation. That means glue these together. This is gluing it together into one string. What we're eventually going to do is we're going to build our string first, and you'll see what I mean in just a bit. Not in this assignment, but in the next one that we do for chapter 3. Those are the ones I've written. So when we get up to chapter 3, I think I've got that one on here. No, I don't. But I'll show you what it looks like. So this is, again, what we're going to be building towards, okay? So when we get that one, it's going to look different. Please enter the first number, please enter the second number, and then we'll bring up a menu that says, do you want to add, multiply, etc. So if I leave it at 1, okay, it still looks the same. But we're also going to put code in there, so if you put in something non-numeric, it's going to handle it. All right? We'll make it more of a full-fledged app. We asked you, do you want to do it again? So if I say yes, it runs me through it again. All right? And now if I say no, anything but, that, it stops. That's what we're going to get to when we get to chapter 3. All right? Any questions on any of that? All right. Let's take a break. I want to make sure I've got this stuff all synced up. So let's come back. It's 10:46. Let's come back around 10:55. We'll do the other one. All right? It's a little bit longer, but we'll be able to finish it in plenty of time. So we're going to have about 5 minutes of dead air at the end of this video because I want this isn't the one I'm doing now. This is the previous one. I want this to finish because otherwise these get out of sync and it gets all screwed up. Yes.
There's a question. So, for example, like in the alert, you have the quotes, like when you're showing us stuff. Is that just so that it will put in whatever you wanted to say in between those things?
Whenever you put something in single or double quotes, it means put that in literally.
Okay, so like, for example, let's say I wanted to say like an actual variable like x or something like that. Be like,
That's
no,
what we're doing here.
X. Okay.
And you notice that those actual variables are not in the quotes.
Right.
If we put that in the quotes, if we put this whole thing in quotes, then it would have said num1 plus num2 equals sum.
Okay. So you can put like, could you put like text in between the quotes in those?
You can put anything you want in between anything.
Okay.
We could have had text here. We could have said the value of this plus the value of this equals or something like that. We could have done anything we wanted to.
Okay. All right. I was just curious. And that would be in quotes too if you wanted to put that in?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to.
So it's only the value of variables that we're not going to put into quotes.
Okay. Gotcha. And then like the glue from the those things. Gotcha.
Okay, let's take a look.